We are still going on policies that originated from Robert Peel all those years ago. We are still using treatments that were approved decades ago. We've not moved on since that because we've got stuff that works. Well, how about you look at all the people that are broken, all the people that are broken, all the officers that have medically retired because of mental ill health or physical ill health, which in turn brings mental ill health. All the people that are off sick, all the people that are off sick, and because you're not providing them with adequate support, which they expect and deserve, they're off long-term sick. Then they start to become a thorn in the job side. How do we deal with this? Well, we're a business. We don't give two shits about the individual. That is how I was made to feel. I was just a number. Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Blue Light Diaries. Welcome. So today's episode is called The Police Delusion. How joining the police might not be as rewarding as you think. I am going to talk you through a book that I read many years ago. But when going through the retirement process and coming out the other side, this book sprung into mind and it brought into my consciousness some similarities. And I began to think about an analogy between the two things, the book and the police service specifically. Now, I want to make sure that it's very clear that I am not in any way being derogatory to any form of religion. I want to make that clear. All this is about is a book that I have read and some similarities that my brain made between that and the police service. So do bear with me whilst I explain this to you, because it's not a book that many people would have read, although it is a very famous book. So let's dive in and I'll tell you all about that. The book is written by Richard Dawkins and it's called The God Delusion. And the analogy between the two came about having read this book. I think it was 2006 it came out. I read it, I think it must have been 2010, something like that. Anyway, written by Richard Dawkins, it focuses on religious belief and the irrationality he sees in faith. So this is his perception of faith being irrational. Dawkins argued that belief in God, the supernatural creator, is a delusion and that God doesn't actually exist. Now, this fascinated me. I wanted to see what this chap had to say. When I read the book, it's very clear that the book examines the negative impact on religion on society. So it's looking at all the drawbacks of religion on society, including violence, intolerance, and the suppression of scientific progress. So the book examines the negative impact of religion on society. So all the negative impacts surrounding society, including violence, intolerance, and the suppression of scientific progress. Dawkins examined religious experiences and argues that they could have been explained through psychology and neuroscience rather than the divine intervention. So how does this link to policing? If you have read this book and you're aware of it, that might make more sense to you right now. If you haven't, bear with me because I'll go on to explain this. So, in Dawkins' book, there are several pillars, if you like, of topic. So I'm going to have a look at each one in turn and we'll explore it further. So, belief without evidence. This is what we're looking at first. So Dawkins argued that faith is belief without evidence. There may be a belief in policing that the necessary mental health support and resources will be available. This belief can exist despite there being evidence otherwise of funding cuts, staff shortages, systemic issues. So can you see how I've made that link? So looking at Dawkins' argument about that faith is a belief without evidence, and then I've come in with the police-related thoughts that I've had, that there may be a belief that in policing, the necessary mental health support and resources will be available. We've got the police family, we've got your back, you'll be fine. This belief can exist despite there being evidence otherwise. Evidence that I can share, and many others can share too. Looking at expectation versus reality, Dawkins challenges the comforting but unrealistic expectations that religious belief provides. Police officers may hold an expectation that the system will take care of their mental health, but the reality often involves inadequate support, high stress levels, and a culture that may not fully address mental health issues effectively. Harmful beliefs. Now, Dawkins states that religion can be harmful, promoting intolerance and impeding scientific progress. There's more about that in the book if you want to read about that. Police believe that the job will provide adequate mental health support without self-advocacy or organisational change, which can be harmful. It can lead to burnout, untreated trauma, and a decline in overall well-being among officers. So whilst we believe, and the job believes, that the help is in place for you, it's actually inadequate, it's not fit for purpose, and it does affect your career. Dawkins talked about the need for evidence-based solutions, and he advocates for evidence-based reasoning and scientific inquiry over faith. So let's look at the evidence and the science first before we believe everything that faith tells us. Evidentially, that's what the police do. We don't just go on a whim, we look for evidence. We have to prove that beyond all doubt, beyond all reasonable doubt. I heard you correcting me, thanks. Dawkins advocates for evidence-based reasoning and scientific inquiry over faith. So Dawkins is very much, show me the science, show me the figures before I take faith and what faith says I should believe over what the evidence says. In the police, there is a need for evidence-based mental health programs and policies. Effective mental health support should be based on research data and best practice in mental health care. We are still going on policies that originated from Robert Peel all those years ago. We are still using treatments that were approved decades ago. We've not moved on since that because we've got stuff that works. Or how about you look at all the people that are broken, all the people that are broken, all the officers that have medically retired because of mental ill health or physical ill health, which in turn brings mental ill health. All the people that are off sick, all the people that are off sick, and because you're not providing them with adequate support, which they expect and deserve, they're off long-term sick. Then they start to become a thorn in the job side. How do we deal with this? Well, we're a business. We don't give two shits about the individual. That is how I was made to feel. I was just a number. Dawkins' book looks at systemic critique. So Dawkins' book is the critique between the systemic role of religion in society. So he shares his thoughts and he comes up with alternative thought processes and critiques what people believe in religion and faith. I mean, it's great that people have got that to believe in, and having a belief in something is brilliant. But in the police, there is a critique of systemic issues that prevent decent mental health support. This includes the stigma around mental health, the lack of training and insufficient resources. So we have looked at the analogy between the two, the book and the police service. So let's get more specific. So this is the area that really started the thought process in linking the two for me. 3 points to share here for you to contemplate and mull over. Indoctrination and culture. Dawkins criticises religious indoctrination. Policing culture can sometimes perpetuate a tough it out, you'll be all right mentality that discourages seeking help. Comfort versus reality. Religion can provide many with comfort, which Dawkins argues is not a reason to accept that it is true. Similarly, the idea that the police service will always provide mental health support can be comforting, but it may not reflect the reality. I've got your back. The whole police family have got your back. You'll be fine. We'll look after you. Yeah. There's got to be a call for change. Dawkins calls for a shift towards a more rational approach to life. His view is very much, come on, people, wake up and smell the coffee. It's all bullshit. You know, where's the evidence? Where's the scientific proof? This is all make believe, in Dawkins' opinion. And I want to stress that. That's not my opinion. If you want to believe in any religion, then hats off to you. But I am just comparing Dawkins' book with thoughts that link to the police service. Definitely not bashing religion. So Dawkins calls for a shift towards a more rational approach to life. In policing, there is a cultural shift towards prioritising mental health, open discussions about mental health issues and implementing comprehensive support systems. But this hasn't happened. It's been spoken about for years, but it hasn't happened yet. So will this ever happen? Let's look at the steps that all of us can take. Most of us are taking some now, and what hope it gives us for the future. So, in terms of increasing awareness, we need to educate officers about the reality of mental health issues and the higher level of vulnerability just due to your job role. Educating about mental health resources and the importance of seeking help before it gets too late. Emphasis on the before it gets too late. Advocate for resources. We need to push more funding and resources dedicated to mental health support within all departments, including support staff. They are just as vulnerable. They are taking the immediate calls. They are the ones that are dealing with the on pressure, oh my God, I've just murdered somebody. Okay, well, how the hell do you deal with that coming in the call centre? At least we get the time when we're given a job over the radio. We've got the time to travel there to think, right, this is how I'm going to deal with this. The call takers answer the phone. Hello, Lincolnshire Police. How can I help? I've just murdered someone. I mean, yes, there's protocols in place. You do not know what detail is going to come out over that phone and how that call is going to affect that person. It's very, very stressful. We need to change the culture, working towards changing the old-fashioned culture in policing to one that values and actively supports mental health. Actively supports being the operative word. We can all talk about it, but what are we actually going to do about it? We need to provide training, ensuring that all police officers and support staff receive adequate training on recognising and addressing their own mental health issues and recognising symptoms in others as well, which so many ex-police are trying to do now as therapists and coaches. There are so many of us that are ex-job that have either been medically retired or have left because they realise that there is much more an important role for them in helping cops, emergency service workers, and they have left through their own experiences of physical, mental ill health. They have come out the other side of that, and now they are helping the people that are left behind in the potential vulnerability that we call work. Myself being one of them, obviously, but there are many people that are doing this now, and hats off to all of them. Implementing a range of programs. So EMDR and CBT are simply not adequate for officers that I see regularly, my clients, that have multiple sources of trauma over many years. I'm not just talking about one job here or there, one fatal, one murder, one child death. I am talking about one, maybe two fatals every set of shifts. They can't drive anywhere in the county because every road that they drive down reminds them of a fatal car scene that they've been to, fatal car accident. I can't go to some places in Lincolnshire without thinking, oh, I did CPR in that house there. Oh, that's where I saw a murder victim just down there. Oh, yeah, that's where I seized all the clothes off that dead child. Why do I have that? I mean, even now, it brings up emotion. And I've gone all cold. And what help have I had with that since I left, since I got medically retired, since I slid my warrant card over that table? What support have they given me to deal with all that shit that I'm going to carry around forever? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And as I said, EMDR and CBT, they're just not adequate. They're not adequate. And this inadequacy is evidence-based. I mean, I'm sure all of the coaches, all of the therapists, all of the support staff that work with people leaving the job, people that have left the job, people that want to leave the job but are apprehensive about what opportunities there are for them out there, they all will say that there's inadequate mental health support in the emergency services role. So when I qualified as a counsellor and psychotherapist, I got in touch with the ACC at the time and told him what I was doing. And they very much encouraged me to get in touch with the welfare team that were at headquarters. So I went and had a meeting with them. And long story short, they were not interested in me helping them whatsoever because I didn't have a degree. How short-sighted is that? I am trained to an advanced level, and I use the newest neuroscience to provide effective therapy for people going through trauma. And they're not interested because they know the best for everybody. This person said to me, and anyway, Sharon, cops don't want to talk to other cops about what's going on. They wouldn't want to talk to you. They would want to talk to somebody completely impartial and independent from the police because, you know, they don't want to talk to cops. And I said, that's absolute rubbish. I've been through counselling myself, and the first half of my blooming sessions was trying to explain to this lady how long I've done it for, you know, what I had to go through to get into the role, my progression through, what my role is, how that differs from my previous role, and why that's relevant to my current situation right now. And then I worked in a covert world where I very discreetly had to explain to this lovely counsellor lady how that related to my problems and my issues and why I can't do my job at the moment, why I'm on restricted duties. Restricted duties, what does that entail? So I'm spending all of my time explaining what this unit is, what that department does. RPU, what do you mean RPU? Road Policing Unit. What do they do? Well, they police their traffic. Oh, right, everybody knows traffic. Things like that wasted my first 6 blooming counselling sessions. Okay, we did get started on the reasons why I was there, but a lot of it was exploring why that was relevant to my current situation. And I can't go into the ins and outs of that, but very much my home life was affected as much as my work life during that time. And it was a very frightening time for me. I was very vulnerable, sleeping in my house at night. That's the kind of shit that was going on, and why I had to explain it to her in a sensitive way, where I didn't give too much information away because I don't want to break confidentiality, obviously, data protection, even though it's my own circumstances and she will keep everything confidential. What I was going through was horrific. And because that counsellor had been supplied to me by the job, I didn't trust her 100% to keep her mouth shut. And if she's listening to this now, I'm really sorry to say it that way. But that's the crux of it. You have to be careful what you tell people that are connected to the police, because occupational health talk to human resources. Human resources then talk to your skipper or your inspector or your sergeant. And then before you know it, whoa, you're whipped off response. Before you know it, you're on restricted duties just because you're having a bit of a downtime. You're stressed out at the minute. You could potentially lose a close member of your family. There's very close family stuff going on that is very disruptive, shocking, life-changing, distressing. And I was fearful that she would feed back to the job and that would hinder my career progress. I'm not the first person to say that. The minute you reach out with any mental health issues, whoa, let's let's put a pause on this. And there's nothing to say that if you have suffered from a bout of depression or anxiety or any mental health problem, if you've gone through grief, loss, bereavement, okay, whilst you're going through that period, yes, you can't be patrolling around your county armed in a high performance vehicle because your head's not in the game. Your head is not in the game, and neither is your tolerance for, as we'd say, fuckwits. Your tolerance for people and your patience goes down, and you're not performing to your best. That is a risk. Organisationally, personally, physically, mentally, it's a risk. So I get that. But then why does that person apply for another job in a different role, maybe, and they don't get through the paper sift, yet they meet all the criteria? Because it's held against you. There's no evidence of that. No evidence of that at all. But collectively, that is why many officers don't talk about this openly, because it will be to the detriment of their career. How sad is that? So, as I said, I was turned away from the head of welfare because I didn't have a degree and he wasn't interested in me helping Lincolnshire Police in the slightest. The fact that he believes that cops don't want to talk to people with experience, they want to talk to someone completely separate. I mean, I kid you not, he said that verbatim. It's just non-evidenced bullshit. Why don't they offer the officer that wants 6 sessions with a counsellor, okay, this is how much we're going to fund for you. You go and find the therapist that you want to see, because let's be right here, it's all about you and you're the most important person in this. Therefore, you must find a therapist and a therapy that you want to work with. No, you get told who you're going to see. You get told you have 6 sessions, for example, and you get told you will go to them all, regardless of whether it's helping you or not. And if you don't comply with that, then that goes against you as well. Not very person-centered. But every single person I have asked has said it's common sense that it would benefit the therapeutic experience to work with someone that understands it all and has had experiences that they can draw on. These people are the best people to help. I believe that too, which is why I set up my private practice, Blue Light Counselling, and why this podcast is happening today as well, because I think this needs talking about, not just with my clients, not just with my colleagues, my peers. This needs talking about publicly on an open forum where other people can get involved, anonymous or not. I mean, these are the people that can draw on the best experiences and empathise like no other. Not some muppet doing repeated GAD-7 forms or PHQ-9 forms. If you've had therapy before, you may be aware that that's the gold standard questionnaire to see if you're suffering from anxiety or depression. And some therapists do these at the start of every single session. What the hell has changed in a week? Why would you want to go sit in a therapist room doing the PHQ-9 questionnaire? Have you had any suicidal thoughts since 7 days ago when I last saw you? Well, let's give this therapy a chance, shall we? Let's put these things into action and see how they work. And then maybe at the end of the therapy process, you can check them again. Not every session. Starting off with paperwork and dark questions. There's no thought for the person here at all. And this angers clients, all of my clients. Like and like I say, my peers, my colleagues, my friends, everything, all of them have experienced that we have to fix you and get you back out there on duty bullshit. This is why the police send you to therapists that they want to send you to. Because me as a therapist, my main priority is not getting you back out on the streets. My main priority is to help you be happy in your life again. To put this to bed once and for all. Sometimes that takes time, and I guarantee you it takes longer than 6 sessions. These people are human beings that see the real world as it is, warts and all, every single day. The job is breaking. People are breaking. And this is due to their conditioning and expectations that are not in the person's best interests. My unique experience is incredibly valuable, yet that head of welfare doesn't see it that way. But the ACC did, because he wanted me to go and see the head of welfare. But I got stopped because I didn't have a degree. I guess, in a way, that was a blessing in disguise too, because I wouldn't have set up blue light counselling in response to that. I just walked out of headquarters that day, having seen some lovely people actually that I'd not seen for a while, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, that, my friend, is to be revealed. Well, that didn't get even out the traps, did it? I walked out of there deflated, shaking my head, just massive sigh as I walked down the steps of the headquarters reception. And I thought to myself, this is shit. Just as a separate anecdote, I met a lady who had roughly 7 years in the job at a conference I went to. And she was working at a counselling practice. She left the job, 7 years service, because she could see how shit the support was, and she got out of there. I know another chap that left after a few years in the job. He could see how poorly supported officers, staff were, and he got out. What does that tell you? It tells me that this is not going to be a career very much longer. People are going to, I want to be a cop, join the police. Yes, I'm in the police. Yes, you feel really proud, because you should do, because you've worked your ass off to get there. But this delusion very soon becomes reality. You see through it. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always, on any aspect of this episode. Do bear in mind, before you complain, that I'm not religion bashing. It was purely connections to the analogy of the God delusion and the police delusion. And I wanted to share that. It might not make sense to all of you, but it might help some people. Just to add as a final point, yes, we all do sign up for this job. And as the police say, officers are given adequate training to cope with the traumatic scenes of the job. Yes, we are. They are. But they're not given adequate training in their mental health, and that has to change. It's my mission to get the right support to police, support staff and any emergency service worker at the right time. And that's before it gets to needing weeks off sick and burning out and finding that you're living with PTSD. And before you know it, you're having flashbacks. You can't even cope with daily tasks anymore, and you're on long-term sick, and the job are like, when are you coming back? We're going to give you a unsatisfactory performance notice, and things just snowball from there. No support. So what I would like you to do, and please do this, share the podcast, share it among your network, share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends and family from all of the emergency services. There's a huge lump of progress to be made here, and if we don't talk about it, it's never going to change. So just to remind you that seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Ignoring it is a sign of weakness. So when you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen, and I really look forward to talking to you again soon. Until the next episode, goodbye.